Hey there, I'm Obelisk and I'll be walking you through the Ethereum Pet Shop tutorial right now. So if you didn't watch the introductory video for this series, you probably should. It explains some things, but it's okay if you didn't because we're just going to do this tutorial and I'm going to show you how it works. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our Ubuntu 16 virtual machine. I set this up in the last video, but if you don't know what it is, it's basically just a fresh copy of Ubuntu 16 running on a virtual machine. So we're going to do the configuration together to make sure that we get all the packages installed that we need to and everything like that. Just so there's no surprises and my machine is running something that would be giving your machine an error if you didn't have and stuff like that. Dependency issues are like the hardest thing to getting a program working, making sure your machine is right. So my machine just booted up, it's brand new, it's fresh, and I'm going to start the video not explain. I just want to get these packages installed because it's going to take a while. So I'm going to open the terminal in the documents folder and I'm going to say sudo apt-get install Node.js legacy. I'm going to start with that one. So install Node.js legacy is the first thing we're going to do. In the meantime, I'm going to start opening this because we're going to need to install Chrome for this tutorial. Let me click yes. Did I click yes? Y. So we need Chrome, which means I need to Google Chrome Ubuntu 16. Actually, you know what? We can make this full screen now. We're going to be doing all our work here, so full screen is fine. Okay, so we have Node.js legacy installed. Let's do sudo apt-get install Node.js. Okay, it's not upgraded, but we're going to do sudo apt-get install npm now because we need npm. The Node package manager, npm. How to install Chrome. Is this a good link? No, let's do this one. Not linuxbabe.com. I like this one. We're going to need Chrome and it's going to take a little bit. That's why I'm going to be installing it before we talk about what the tutorial is actually about because it's going to take some time. So we've got npm and now we need to get git. Invalid operation. We don't apt-get git, we apt-get install git. And okay, this is a good one. Let's continue with this. And we don't need this to be so wide. We can close this out a little. And this is what we're going to be doing next to get Chrome installed. Chrome's pretty important. So honestly, I tried to do this tutorial using Firefox a bunch of times and it didn't work. It just wasn't working for me. So we installed Chrome. We didn't install it yet. We got the .dev file and now we're downloading the package and then we're going to install it with apt-get install. And I need to click yes first. And if we see Chrome, okay, good, we have Chrome. So let's make it the default browser and let's not send automatic crash reports. We will choose a key ring. Let me make sure I get the password. Okay, great. So now we have Chrome installed. And I'm going to go to Truffleframework.com because that's the tutorial website, and Pet Shop. So seemingly just like that, we set up our entire environment. I don't need this anymore. That was the Chrome package.dev file that we downloaded. And voila, our setup is pretty much good. So I have Ubuntu 16 running on this virtual machine. You saw me install Node Legacy. You saw me install npm was pretty good because we did that, and we installed Git, and then we just installed Chrome. So and we made Chrome the default browser. So using all of that, I think we should be good. I'll see if we need to do anything special, but if not, we should be okay. So moving on, we've got the Ethereum Pet Shop tutorial on Truffleframework.com. So it seems like Truffle Framework is an NPM library, a node library, and what they try to do is they try to making apps using Ethereum easier by providing you the framework with boilerplate code that you can use to make everything easy so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel and stuff like that. So we're going to be going through this tutorial right now. I'm not going to explain how every single line of code works. We're just going to try to get it working, but I will try to explain how certain parts work. So let's go through this. Just going to talk about what they're setting up. Let's talk about the background. Pete of Pete's Pet Shop is interested in using Ethereum as an efficient way to handle their pet adoptions. The store has space for 16 pets at a given time, and they already have a database of pets. As an initial proof of concept, Pete wants to see a dApp which associates an Ethereum address with a pet to be adopted. The website structure and underlying styling will be applied. Our job is to write the smart contract and front-end logic for its use. So this guy has a pet shop. He wants to sell his pets on the web, and he wants a web app to do that, but he wants the back end to be blockchain. That's what this dApp is, decentralized app. It's basically an app like a mobile app or a web app, what everyone thinks of, but the back end is using Ethereum or blockchain so that you can use that kind of technology. Because it's all fun and games to talk about it, but to actually get the back end to work like that, you need some tricks, and that's where the Truffle framework comes in handy. So setting up the development environment, you need Node.js and Git. We handled that in the beginning pretty quickly. And now we have to do npm install Truffle, which is going to give us the Truffle framework. I'm going to say sudo in front of it because I'm using Ubuntu 16. Maybe you're using Mac, maybe you're copying this exact same thing, but I want to do sudo, I mean. So let's see if this works. And if this step works, then everything's pretty much taken care of, and we just have to, our total development environment will be taken care of if this step works. And we'll know that everything works as we expect it to. Our whole environment is set up. So we're installing Truffle through npm because I guess it's a node package. It's taking a bit, which is pretty much good for us. Okay, so now we'll do Truffle version, and if this works, cross your fingers. If this works, no, there's an error. Okay, so I sort of expected this, and I'm going to pull up my Windows 10 Chrome and show you this. So there was something where we installed Node, but it wasn't updated enough when I tried it myself before doing this video. So just quickly, I'm going to run the update commands to update Node.js to the latest version, because I don't think it's updated enough to be installing Truffle. So first of all, let's sudo npm uninstall Truffle. So we're uninstalling Truffle right now. Now we're gonna update our npm by saying sudo npm install gn, which installs something called n, I guess. And then we're going to use n to install stable. And I think that installs the latest version of Node. And now we're going to try to install Truffle one more time. This is a big error that was throwing me off like a lot before, because you just install Node and you think everything's good, and it turns out it gives you an error. That's the whole problem. So we're going to try Truffle version, and it works. See, that was a huge error, but you got to be able to go through these errors, and that's why I'm doing this setup, and that's why this is so important. So let me just close this in my Windows 10 so I can see the video, and we're good to go. So our setup is totally complete now. The setup is complete. We're going to go through the tutorial to make this pet project. So first thing we're going to do is we're in our documents folder on Ubuntu. We're going to make a pet shop tutorial folder in here, and we're going to cd change directory into it. And now we're going to unbox the pet shop. So let's just run this command and I'll explain it a little bit. So Truffle is a framework, and we gave it global privileges because it's an NPM kind of thing. And they have their own commands, I guess, because we globally installed into our Ubuntu, letting Truffle be a keyword for the command line. And they have a pet shop library, not a library, it's more like a boilerplate tutorial code set that you can see is building out right here. I'm actually not blocking any of it, it's all there. So it basically downloaded all the boilerplate setup code that we're going to need to do this tutorial. So the directory structure, let's just go through it quickly. Contracts is going to be for Solidarity contracts. Solidarity is the code to write Ethereum smart contracts. Migrations is going to upload our contracts onto the Ethereum blockchain. So our code is like all fine and dandy, but it's got to get onto the blockchain somehow, right? That's where migrations come in. Test is going to let us test our code to make sure that it's doing what we expect. And truffle.js, this file right here, is just the Truffle configuration file, I guess, which basically, let's open it up. There's basically nothing in it. It's just a configuration file. So, writing the smart contract, we're going to go into the contracts folder and we're going to create a new document called adoption.sol, a solidarity contract. And we're going to add this code to it. Let me make this a little skinnier so everything can stay on the screen. So we're creating a contract. If you don't know what this stuff means, there are going to be some links down here below the video that's going to explain Solidarity that I really recommend reading. We're just trying to get through this tutorial. I can't explain like all of Solidarity and how everything works to you right here. But this tutorial is pretty good as well. Like, they explain a lot of it like right here, so you can read through it yourself. There'll be a link to this tutorial again down here. But otherwise, we're just going to try to get this working. And because we're just copying and pasting code, I'm not going to make it like nicely indented. We're just going to make sure that it works because I don't want this to be a long video. So we're setting up this address array. We're going to add a first function inside the contract. Make sure you recognize that it's inside this contract, so it's got to be inside the brackets. For adopting a pet, we're going to add another function inside this contract for retrieving the adopters to show on the web page. And that's it. That's it for our smart contract. So I'm going to close this. That should have been it. And now it says compiling and migrating the smart contract. So we've got the code, but we need to compile it. So we're going to say truffle develop to enter a REPL style terminal where we can use truffle commands. We can see that it shows up exactly as we expect. And we're going to do compile because we're going to compile our code. And it looks good so far. Okay, looks good. That's what we expect. So now we're going to migrate the code. Migration. We need to push it to the blockchain. And so we're going to the migrations folder this time. And we're going to create a new document, and it says it's going to be called to_deploy_contracts.js. So it's a JavaScript file. We're going to open it up and write some code to it. Add the following content to this file, and that's it. So I'm going to close this. Again, if you want to know what this stuff does, I expect you to look at this link and read everything later, but we're just trying to get it to work. So I'm going to say migrate and saving artifacts. Looks like it migrated successfully. So now we need to test this code. And so we're going to the test folder and we're going to create a new document called test adoption.sol. And we're going to add some code to it, so let's open this up. It's another Solidarity file. And we're adding this contract to it, test adoption. It's got a lot of stuff here explaining how this code works. You're supposed to read that later. But we've got a function that we're going to add to this code. And this is the function. Remember, inside the bracket, inside the smart contract. Don't just throw it right after. Well, if you read this, you'll see how everything should work. But either way, we've got the second function here. And the second function is test retrieval of a single pet's owner. Okay, whatever. And we've got test testing retrieval of all pet owners. So that's another one that we're going to add below this function. So still inside the contract. The indentation looks bad because I'm doing it very sloppily, but okay, so now the three test functions are set up. So we're going to do test in our browser, not in our browser, in our command window, and we passed all three tests. It looks like everything's good. Our computer's a little slower than theirs, but that's not. We're on a virtual machine and it's only given so much resources. So creating a user interface to interact with the smart contract. So now we have our code set up. We need to create the interface. So let's see what they want. Instantiating Web3. So we're going to edit our app now. They took care, they meaning Truffle. Truffleframework took care of doing all the front-end code, the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript for us. And they put it all in their source file. But they want us to edit some of it to make it work with Ethereum. So let's see. I can make this a little bit bigger because it's important. Just slightly bigger. So in the init3 function, which we can see right here, it says replace me, and we're going to replace it with this. Simple enough. And now we got to instantiate the contract. So in the init contract, we're going to replace it with this code. We're going to replace this with the code. And we can see we've got two more replace me, so let's keep going. Now it says getting the adopted pets. In the mark adopted function, which is right here, we've got to put this code inside. Hopefully we're doing it correctly. I'm just sort of rushing through it because I already read this, but when you read through this, you can see why they're choosing to do this and what all this code means. And now we've got this code for the handle adopt, and handle adopt. So now we copy and pasted all the code, so this file should be good. Our app JavaScript file should be good. And I think what we just did was we said, okay, we've got this front-end web app, but it needs to interact with our Solidarity code, right? So how do we do that? We added that code into this file. So this is supposed to handle the front-end part that connects to our Solidarity code, I think. You gotta read this and find out for us. And now we want to test our web app. Our web app should be good, but we need to test it. And what we need to do is we need to install something called MetaMask. It's a Chrome extension. So let's go to Chrome MetaMask. I'm going to Google that. And we see it right here in the store. So I'm going to install, add to Chrome, add extension. And let's see. It installed correctly. Install MetaMask. Once installed, you'll see this. So I'm going to accept this, but there's one thing that's really important before we do anything. Do not close this window. This is really important because you'll see what it says is you have to import existing den. When we did Truffle develop earlier, Truffle actually gave us some free Ethereum when we made this account. They made everything, they did some magic for us and they made it easier. So just remember we did Truffle unbox and that downloaded the code, but then we did Truffle develop, and the first thing it did was it set some stuff up on our local host 9545 so that later on this network we can do some cool stuff. But it also gave us this mnemonic, and it sounds a little vague right now, but we're going to copy and paste this mnemonic and you'll see why. So we just downloaded this, right? We accept the privacy policy, we scroll down, accept terms of use. No one really reads that stuff anyway. We read it, don't worry about it. I can read a million words a minute. But now we're going to enter the mnemonic that we got right here into here, and we're going to create a password. And what we're doing here is we're saying Truffle already kind of created an account for us, and we're going to be using that account right now. See, we started out with some Ether because Truffle gave it for us. But they're going to give us even more Ether because, let's see, we created the account, we added up our wallet seed from here, and we entered the password. But now what we got to do is we have to create a custom RPC. We need to go to our local network, and we want HTTP localhost 9545. So we're going to go back to here. We're signed in. We're going to do custom RPC. Let me scroll up a little so you can see. But this is the address we want to associate our RPC with. So we're going to do http //localhost 9545. We're going to save it, and now we see that we're on a private network. And suddenly we have so much Ethereum, right? Because I think Truffle did something with it. They send us extra Ethereum once we get to this host. I don't know how it works, to be honest with you. They did some hand-waving magic to make our lives a lot easier, but now we have some Ethereum to play around with, right? We should say thanks to them. So now this is set up, and click the left arrow, getting out of the settings, and we saw basically the same screen, right? So now our MetaMask is set up. Now our development environment was set up, and now we have our browser set up to test this app out, because we needed this to just do some blockchain stuff and handle our transactions. So now installing and configuring light server, open BS config JSON, which is right here, and examine the contents. It looks the same to me. No, nothing we have to do there. And now we've got something else in our, I think it was package.json. Dev light server, test echo error, test echo error. It's the same. That's pretty good. And now this is the moment of glory. Cross our fingers. We're going to run the app. So we've got all this code right here, right? All this magical code that should be a good web app. We set up our browser to handle it. Now we need to run it. So I'm going to press Control-C to exit this Truffle develop. And I'm going to do npm run dev like it says. And now, because we made Chrome our default browser when we started this video, Chrome is the one that opens it. If we didn't do that, then Firefox would have opened it. And I honestly don't think Firefox is as good with MetaMask and doing everything. So let's close this tab. And we have our web app open, right? Look, we can see dogs, and Truffle already set this up where they have like the web app and it looks nice. That's pretty good, right? And we can press the adopt button, but before we do that, let's read what we expect. The dev server will launch automatically in a new tab, and it'll show you this. We see that good. To use the dApp, click the adopt button of the pet of your choice. You will be automatically prompted to approve the transaction by MetaMask. Click submit to approve, and you'll see a button say success. The button will change to success. And then in MetaMask, you'll see the transaction listed. And that's it. So if we do that, let's press adopt. Who do we want to adopt? Let's adopt Leonor. That's kind of a weird name. Let's do it. Adopt. I clicked it. MetaMask opens up. By the way, I'm telling you, if you don't do this in Chrome, I think in Firefox it's messed up for me. Because I tried it a lot in Firefox, and this window did not show up in Firefox. So if you're following step by step exactly the way we've been doing it in this tutorial, it should work. But if you're trying in a different browser, I can't guarantee your success. I'm just telling you that I failed when I did it with Firefox. Maybe I did something else wrong, maybe it works, but you can see that when we do it with Chrome it works. So it's got some information for us, some gas price. We're just going to press submit, let the transaction go through. And I think it takes a little time. I'm not sure how long it'll take. I don't think I should press the refresh button. Should I? Let's see what it says. We know that it goes through, but you'll see the button next to the pet change success and become disabled. Well, it didn't really happen yet, but I don't want to press refresh. How long will this take? Why don't we do one more? Let's adopt Dean too. Submit. Oh, success. It just took a little bit of time. Don't freak out if it doesn't happen instantly, because it's got to go to the actual blockchain, and blocks get mined at different times. Because that's the way blockchain works. Like, it'll just be sitting there until one whole block gets mined. So that's it. Our app worked. Success. And congratulations, you've taken a huge step to becoming a full-fledged dApp developer. We've developed locally, and in the future we can use a real testnet, not just our local testnet. So as you can see, we just did everything in this tutorial. in the next video, I'm going to be doing another tutorial from this Truffle framework, and we're going to get through that and make sure that everything works. And one more time, I just want to remind you, I didn't really go through all the lines of code because that would take too long, and to be honest, me talking to you about it isn't going to help you learn it. You need to do it yourself. You need to run this yourself on your own computer to see the magic, and you need to do like little tweaks and just read the code yourself and read all these comments on this webpage so that you can learn it yourself. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video where we're going to be doing another tutorial, and hopefully it works and we can become a great Ethereum developer. Thanks.